Good morning, everybody. Pastor Nate Borman here, one of the pastors at Mount Lebanon Lutheran Church here for Daily Devotional Thought. Today we are looking at Psalm 63. And again, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ask you a question for you to think about. What do you do when you're dry? What do you do when you're exhausted? What do you do when you're tired? Where do you look? What do you go? Where do you go? What do you do when you're tired, exhausted, dry, worn out, all those things? In Psalm 63, there's a really powerful image, I think, and the image is the image of a deer panting for streams of water. And these days, I suppose it's hunting season, so you can kind of, if you're a hunter, you can maybe understand this. I'm not a hunter, so I'm going to describe it the best that I can, but I can only imagine what it's like to be a deer right now. You know, you've got hunters, and the deer probably aren't aware of all this. We are. But just try to imagine this. Imagine being a deer right now. You've got hunters in their stands, scattered around the countryside. You know, they're here and they're there, and they're hidden in many ways in plain sight. Like they're wearing their camouflage, and maybe you can smell them, you can pick up their scent in the air and the breeze, but you can't really. They're hidden, but they're right there. You never know when you're going to come over the top of a hill and they're going to pick you off. You've got maybe family members. I'm imagining right now. You maybe got family members who are getting picked off too. And you're running. Every once in a while you hear a gun go off and you take off running because you wonder if it was aimed at you, if you're in somebody's sights and you're scared and you're tired and you're worn and you're weary and you just keep running and you want to lay down, but you're afraid that somebody's going to come along and you want to fall asleep, you want to rest, but you can't. You're tired, you're worn, you're weary, and you just want to stop for a drink, but you're afraid that as soon as you put your head down to grab a drink from a stream beside a running brook, you're afraid that somebody's going to sneak up on you and catch you unawares. Right? Try to imagine what it's like to be a deer right now. That's how David feels. Psalm 63. He's in the desert. He's running from Saul. He's weary. He's worn. He's dry. He's parched, and yet there, David finds an oasis. I want to read the psalm to you now, and I'll show you the oasis. Psalm 63. You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water. I have seen you in the sanctuary and beheld your power and your glory. Because your love is better than life, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, and in your name I will lift up my hands. I will be fully satisfied as with the richest of foods. With singing lips my mouth will praise you. On my bed I remember you. I think of you through the watches of the night. Because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. I cling to you. Your right hand upholds me. Those who want to kill me will be destroyed. They will go down to the depths of the earth. They will be given over to the sword and become food for jackals. But the king will rejoice in God. All who swear by God will glory in him, while the mouths of liars will be silenced. See, David is in the desert. He's in a parched land, but what does he do? From my bed I remember you. I think of you. I think on you through the watches of the night. I think of you in your sanctuary. See, what David does is, even though he's away from God's house, even though he's parched and dry in the desert, he thinks of God. And there's the oasis, isn't it? Right? There is our oasis when we're dry, when we're parched, when we're weary, when we're worn, when we're running, when we're tired, when we're longing for heaven. What do? What does David teach us to do? So I lift up my eyes to your sanctuary to behold your power and your glory. Here's what Psalm 121 says about it. We say, I lift up my eyes to the hills. We lift up our eyes to our God who sits enthroned in heaven. We lift up our eyes to our good shepherd who meets our every need. We lift up our eyes to our God who cares for us. We find oasis in God's word, right? We find oasis in prayer as we pour out our hearts to God. That's what David's doing. He's pouring out his heart to God, and there's comfort and solace in that too, that we can just lay it on God. We can just lay it on him. We can bring our heart's brokenness, our heart's weariness. We can lay it on our God. Scripturally we call it lament. We can lay it on God, and what does God do? As we bring our laments to us, he opens up his arms to receive us, and there is our oasis. There is our rest. There is our refuge. There is our renewal. Right? That's what renewed David. He lifted up his eyes to God in his sanctuary. He lifted up his eyes to God on his throne, and there he found oasis. So dear people of God, lift up your eyes. Think of God in his sanctuary. Behold there his power and his glory. Think about your God. Meditate on who he is, and there in your weariness, there you find oasis. So rest in the Lord today, dear people of God. Lift up your eyes to him. Behold him in his sanctuary, for there he gives oasis. The Lord be with all of you and grant you his peace. So glad to spend these few minutes with you.